next speaker is our keynote speaker, Arja Rinpoche. Arja Rinpoche 우기야 본다. Arja 그거니 만에 멍어치 부르머지가 가비 테노치로 그 멍러 테노치로 초hol고 그지 버지가 되게 안겔라 저거에 가는 그 그 Arja Rinpoche 우케비다가스 베칸에 테노치로 없어. Yeah, next speaker is our keynote speaker, Arja Rinpoche. Arja Rinpoche is one of the most prominent Buddhist teachers and lamas to have left Tibet. In 1998, due to the strained political climate in Tibet, Arja Rinpoche wanted to exile and escape to the United States, where he now lives and studies Buddhist Center for Compassion and Wisdom in California. And in 2005, he was appointed director of Tibetan Cultural Center in Bloomington, India, by 14th Dalai Lama. Arja Rinpoche is only Tibetan High Lama of Mongolian descent. He excels in knowledge and understanding of Tibetan art and architecture and Tibetan language. He has given classes in Buddhist art and Socha throughout the United States, Canada, Taiwan, India, and Guatemala. Please welcome Arja Rinpoche.
Observing Munda Tanner in Horoder, Dilkirin, Oven Olsassia, Taptamorsinder, by Kurjana, Enota, Imsachen, Zapshangaps in the Bitin and Hordin, the Combaros and Kumus Basvajana, create that in Horoder Wodo. Angular is a hall that does was angular Kilhoga Biota Angular. Good morning, dear Mongolian brothers and sisters, distinguished guests and friends. I'm Arja Lobsantuten, but people address me as Arja Rinpoche. I'm the abbot of Tibetan Mongolian Buddhist Cultural Center in Bloomington, Indiana now. I'm pleased to be with you today to explain my thought on the terrible situation in Southern Mongolia, and including that's so-called Xinjiang area that's under Chinese control. Last December, Mongolian parents in Bayangol were sent a message telling them that their Mongolian language would now no longer be language of instruction in the prefecture. Chinese will be the language in instruction. The Mongolian language would be given as an elective course for students. This is very sad. Their own language is treated as though it were a foreign language forced to the Mongolian students. Consistently, the Chinese government create roadblocks to the proper education of ethnic children. For example, used to, it won't give necessary funds to support their elementary and middle schools. Instead, it combines them into already existing Chinese middle schools. causing the layoff of the ethnic school teachers. Then when students graduate from the upper school, they have no way to prepare themselves for the entrance test to the universities that have to be taken in the Chinese language. Because of their inability to have the means for the proper preparation for these crucial examination, some of the Chinese people say, as the Mongolians or estimates are in failure or down. Likewise, after their education is finished, ethnic people face discrimination in the job market. Ethnic applicants are not hired for chose positions and are forced to take lower level jobs. Like all of us here, I'm deeply saddened by the Chinese government's oppression of Mongolians and Tibetans and other ethnic groups in China-occupied territories. Here, I would like to very briefly give my background to you. I was born in 1950 in Koknor. It's from a nomad family. My parents are Mongolian, but were living in the Tibet Plateau. For centuries, Mongolians and Tibetans, nomads, had shared life on the plateau with friendship and peace. I was 2 years old. The 10th Panchen Lama found me as a reincarnation of the Lama Tsongkhapa's father. Then I went to Kumbum. Then as a very young age, I began my studies of the Buddhist rituals and prayers. In 1958, my life was turned upside down. Our monastery was taken over by the communist cadres. And during the religious reform movement, monks were forced to be destroyed, and Buddhists went under attack. My robe were cut off, dyed black, and resewn into a little mouse suit. I attended the Chinese school in the town. During the next 22 years, I experienced and witnessed great sufferings, such as Great Leap Forward, Great Famine, and Cultural Revolution, and so forth. When I was 14, I was entered in a forced labor camp where I worked for 16 years. After Mao Zedong's death, the Chinese situations a little east. Started the 80s, I was promoted to many high positions by the Chinese government, and willingly, I have to be a bridge between the government of Prussian and those who were being rounded. But finally, in 1998, I could not I could no longer compromise with the Chinese government, and I went in exile in the United States. I think Tibetans and the Uyghurs and the other ethnic group and also liberal Chinese friends will understand well the heartbreak of the Mongolian people who are losing their fatherland and their language due to treachery of the People's Republic of China. In 2016, a Tibetan language activist, Zhaxi Wangshu, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for inciting separatism by participating in the New York Times that's documentary. This news, not the news, for the past 60 years, the strategy of Chinese government has been to say nice things for the ears of the people or public. Article 37, paragraph 3 of law of the People's Republic of China on regional national autonomy state that, quote, school with majority of minority children should, whenever possible, use textbooks and instruction in their native language. Classes for the teachings of Chinese, the Han language, shall, where possible, be open for junior or senior grads of preliminary schools, quote, close. Such as proclamations is worded perfectly to satisfy the human rights watchers, but the reality, what appears in the general government level, central government level, so-called Zhongyang, dwindles in strength when it reaches the provincial level. By the time it comes to the county level, what had happened to be so good and white has become bad and black. As usual, one of the promises is kept. The Chinese government, it is never to be trusted to speak to the truth, as witnessed in Bayangol prefecture. It is consistent aim is to erase control and language, cultural and language differences, so that all the minority groups occupied by the Chinese government will be blended into one consistency, no irritating differences, no threat to the stability of the right of the Chinese authority who know no end to its greed for wealth and for power. Not only are they wiping out our cultural heritages, they are also destroying our previous pressures and the pure environment as the dam, the rivers, turn the fields into factories, cut down the trees, and pollute the air. People have a right to live according to their individual identity, speak their own language, and practice their own religious beliefs. Any system of government that does not recognize this is this government that does not listen to its people and is not worthy of this people. We need to educate our Mongolian, Tibetan, and the Uyghur, and other ethnic youth in their communication skills to they write books and write newspaper articles, create podcasts, videos, and apps, and go on talk shows, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, so that the world knows and understand the devastation that the Chinese government is creating among the people it control, and the environment that it is destroying. The Chinese censor their media. We in democratic countries do not. So we have power in our hands. We must not be silent. The only pressure for change that Chinese government will feel in economic pressure. Protest will be beaten down. Armed conflicts is not successful. We must speak out loudly to the world, who may then, with economic, diplomatic pressures, sanctions, and embarrassing press coverage that will cause the government to lose face. People will see it for what it is and not the truth, not to trust it in any agreement. Then China may squeal and squeal a little. Finally, the truth will leak in little by little to the mass of Chinese people. They will begin to understand what is happening to their minority brothers and sisters. They have a good heart. The Chinese population is huge. It can give huge response to the truth when finally they know it. This change can happen. It must happen. We're the ones to make it happen. Speak out for freedom. We must not give up. Finally, I would like to congratulate everyone. Have a success conference. Thank you.